I have another question from the public, but to be very honest, it's the same question I would like to do for you. In Brazil, especially in my family, you have like a big issue and a big arguing when you are saying about esports and soccer.
What do you mean? Arguing or argument? You mean?
Arguments, yes, arguments.
Okay.
Yeah. And I say for them that, in my opinion, in maybe like 50 years, because of the generation, esports is going to be like bigger than soccer or other kind of esports. Do you agree with me? Because I think like I just for you know why I say that. Because I am graduated, but in 2019 I did my second graduation, and because of that I met like a lot of students who was much younger than me, and these students they have like the same funds that I did, for example, for Ronaldo, for Romário, for Pep Guardiola, with the esports players. Like I say, for example, I don't know, I know BRTT, which is a guy who plays League of Legends in Brazil,
Fallen.
Fallen, and they say like, hey, you know Fallen, or you know Coldzera, and they say yes, and say, yeah, I am big fan. And I think when this kind of generation comes to be like older, like 30 years, it's something that maybe can be bigger than like normal sports. Like, what do you think about
Yeah,
that?
I think that it will be up there, like in the future. It's gonna take a long time, I think, but there is no way that esports is not gonna grow as big as some of the biggest sports on the planet. There's just no way. I post about it sometimes, but when you think about how far we've made it in a very short time in esports, like we're only, let's say, debatable on how old esports is, but let's say maybe 20 years in the more developed years, right? We have
Okay.
20 years. And look at what we're doing already. Look how far we've come. And I know everyone's trying to say at the moment, oh, it's going bankrupt and esports is bullshit and all that stuff. That's not true at all, right? It's just too much money got in. There needs to be a correction. Outside of that, esports is growing all the way, right? Players, viewers, fans, casuals, people that buy merchandise, everything is growing. So I agree that it's just a matter of generations that keep coming up. Now I have a son, right, who's turning 7. He grew up in a very different world with Roblox, and obviously he's brainwashed by me through to watch NIP games and stuff like that. But they definitely grow up in a different way. But what I do see in his generation, though, and that's why it's like, is it going to be bigger than it? Is that there's a huge merge between the two, right? They play football. The same people will play football still. Football's not going to go anywhere because it's not going to go out of fashion in that sense, because it's a great game that so many people love and will continue to love all the time, right? So there's room for esports for sure, but I think it's just going to be up there with some of the biggest sports. It's not like that's the new thing, but I don't see why in 50 years that esports should not be as big as the NFL. I can't see any logic in that. It will be. I think taking over football in 50 years probably need more.
I think
I
in your world, like the legends, I see that they are more close to their fans than like the soccer ones. I
Sure, but that right now, but that's also why I'm saying this, right? Because there's let's say when we work with Leeds, for example, football
Okay.
club, right? There's also a huge interest by football clubs in renewing. There's been a lot of traditional sports partnerships, right, where you team up with a traditional sports franchise. I was in North before, which was FC Copenhagen, the base team and football team in Copenhagen. They were doing their own esports team with a media partner, right? So it's been tried, and sure that one failed, but there's a huge interest in looking down below here. So I'm sure we'll see more mergers. Also, Dallas Cowboys, complexity, that whole thing. There's so many of these. So I think it's just going to be more meshed. And when you look at the new football players, it's different. I just saw an article the other day where Jack Grealish is tweeting at 5 p.m. from a pub, or 5 a.m. from a pub after they won the FA Cup or something like that, right? And you see Neymar playing CS with the Simple. You
yeah.
see the youngsters they're playing FIFA with some of the FIFA pros. They're playing Fortnite in their hotel rooms and stuff like that. So while yes, they're less close to the fans and it's more the polished old school FIFA style football, there's also a new generation coming in sports, right? Which are just gonna grow up in the same. Like let's say Roblox has a penetration, I don't know, massive proportions on all the kids coming up, right? So there's not gonna the next Mbappe or Neymar or Ronaldo is gonna have 5,000 hours in Roblox also, right? So they're gonna play. So I don't know. It's hard to predict on that one. I think it's gonna mesh, right? And esports definitely plays a role in that, but I think it's gonna mesh.